All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all the honor, the praise, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Bahashem, Chakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, the great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the elect scattered abroad. All right, this is Brother Barazal here with a lesson. The Lord willing is edifying. All right, so today this lesson is going to kind of go into an update of where we are on biblical prophecy. Pretty much going into the LA riots, which have pretty much, been the new major news, so to speak. All right, and as you know, people have been seeing, these LA riots have been getting more and more out of hand. Now, with that being said, we do know that Esau has a term called order ab chaos, right? Order out of chaos, which we know that time and time again. Esau, he'll set up, certain crisis actors, things of that nature in order to forward his agenda, right? And him doing that, kind of getting the ball rolling, kind of, getting the people riled up through that, the multitude of people will follow, who's kind of has, the same type of views, right? Like you got certain guys who's, burning American flags and things like that, tearing down buildings, all right, just causing mass destruction, which, that's a big sign that, hey, Esau's behind it, all right? But, what Esau is doing right now currently is, dividing the people. He's continuing to divide the people. All right. Everything that Esau is doing is pretty much going to lead up to that NWO. It's going to lead up to the mandatory implementation of the MOTB. All right. Which we know is the RFID hip. Okay. So let's get into it. It says National Guards to deploy LA as more protests are being planned. Protests over immigration raids in the Los Angeles area are set to continue for a third day. Governor Gavin Newsom said President Trump's decision to call in National Guards was purposefully inflammatory. And you got this guy, of course, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. He's against, all right, Trump's deployment of the military. Which. It could just be set up that way, but either way, there's still that division, right? Because when you're pretty much deploying the military, implementing martial law, you pretty much waging war on the citizens, right? On the people. All right. So actually, let's get that real quick. This is Matthew 12:25. It says, and Yahweh shall do their thoughts, and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And we're seeing that from all angles. All right, people who's with Trump. A lot of people is turning their back on Trump. All right, these different protests, with ICE. All right, you got a term called, black fatigue. The Edomites is getting, bolder and bolder, right? With their, racist remarks toward, Jake. All right, so it's a lot going on, that we can see that, something is really about to happen. All right, I believe it was something that, due to cyber attacks, Whole Foods is having trouble, stocking shelves and things like that. Of course, that could lead to a famine. All right, prices, still rising. All right, being recalls on eggs, things of that nature. All right, so we're seeing a lot of stuff go down. All right, and all this is planned by the Edomites, right? But, when you take a deeper look into it, this all goes back to biblical prophecy. The things that, we will have to see before the Lord, of course, make his return. Okay? So let's keep on reading. It says, further protests against immigration raids were scheduled to take place in the Los Angeles area on Sunday, hours after President Trump took the extraordinary action of ordering at least 2,000 National Guard members to assist immigration agents clashing with demonstrators. The announcement late Saturday by Mr. Trump, who said that any protest or act of violence that impeded officials would be considered a form of rebellion, was an escalation that put Los Angeles squarely at the center of tensions over his administration's immigration crackdown and made rare use of federal powers to bypass the authority of California's Governor Gavin Newsom. Mr. Trump praised the National Guard for their work in Los Angeles overnight, but Mayor Karen Bass reminded residents that the troops had not arrived. As of around 7 a.m. on Sunday, the streets were quiet. Protests against immigration raids were expected to continue for a third day, with one event at City Hall set for 2 p.m. local time. On Saturday, enforcement officers faced off with hundreds of protesters for a second consecutive day in the Los Angeles area, in some cases using rubber bullets and flashbang grenades. Mr. Newsom described Mr. Trump's order as purposefully inflammatory, saying that the federal government was mobilizing the National Guard not because there was a shortage of law enforcement, because they want a spectacle. Yeah. And they Trump is waiting for any, anything, for him to justify, coming in with that great wrath, right? So first, actually, I want to get Psalm 64:2. It says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. And we know that, of course, the top, Edomites, starting off with, of course, the banking families, the elite, they have these different meetings of how they can, pretty much start that NWO, get everybody see him, have that complete, control over the people. All right. And the way that they chose was order out of chaos. Okay, so we're going to see a lot more of this, and it's only going to get worse from here, right? Because we still have, Jacob's trouble. All right, a complete civil war, pretty much breaking out, So we pretty much just at the tip of the iceberg, right, so to speak. And it says, we can go down to 5. They encourage themselves in the evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? You see? So, these guys are doing this, thinking they, getting away with it, outsmarting the people, thinking they, about to get their way. But, we know that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is going to shut all that down. Okay? So let's see if there's anything more of this we can read. It says Bill Essayli, the Trump administration's top law enforcement official in Southern California, said in an interview on Saturday night that National Guard troops would arrive in Los Angeles County within 24 hours. At least 20 people were arrested on Saturday, mostly in the largely Latino and working class suburb of Paramount, in addition to the more than 100 people arrested at the protest on Friday, Mr. Essayli said. All right, and he wants to and we know that Trump is going to want to implement that martial law on the national level, right? Not just in Cali, but the whole nationwide, right? All right. So this is Revelation 12:12. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And we seeing that happen. All right. More and more, we seeing everything kind of fall in place, further forward, biblical prophecy. All right. And soon, of course, all hell gonna break loose. right? You know, we're going to see World War III. We're going to see UN troops, you know, come in. We're going to see that MOTB be mandatory. You know, you ain't going to be able to fit into society without it. You know, you ain't going to be able to buy or sell without it. All right, and ultimately, if, you know, you don't take it, you know, Esau, you know, he going to be looking to put you to death, you know, because you're not, you know, you pretty much, you know, worthless, you know, in his plans. Okay? So this is Isaiah 19:1. This is the burden of Egypt. Behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And I will set Egyptians against the Egyptians, which, you know, in this context, all right, you know, the Americans, right, would be the modern day Egyptians. You know, Babylon, otherwise known as America, is also known as spiritually Egypt. Right, so verse 2, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone's against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. All right, and that's we seeing a division. All right, you know, everybody is divided against one another, and tensions are rising. All right, and you know, Esau, you know, he's allowing this to happen. He's really encouraging this to happen, you know, so he can step in, you know, with his military might. Okay? You know, this is all a part of his plan. Okay? 2nd Esdras 15:15, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up against and fight against another, and the swords in their hands. All right, going into that civil war, right? Going into those race wars. Right? It says, verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men, evading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and of course of their actions shall stand in their power. Yeah. All right, we're seeing that sedition. All right, we're seeing these people, you know, rioting. Okay, because even though you have, you know, a lot of course, to get the ball rolling, you know, you got the crisis actors, but you know, you got, you know, real, you know, Northern Kingdom, you know, going in there, you know, as well. You know, you've seen Jake, you know, looting different stores, you know, things of that nature. So, you know, they're pretty much rebelling. You know, that's a way that, you know, they rebel, you know, against the kings, against the princes, right? And, you know, of course, we know that, you know, the kings and princes seeing that, you know, they're pretty much going to wage war on the people through the military. All right. But, you know, that's pretty much the point. All right, Lord, when it was edifying. So with that, I'd like to give all the honor, the praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wahakadosh. So,